I just got nervous about my dad listening to this podcast. Dad, if you're listening, don't talk to me about this episode. So, yeah, any male family member, do not discuss this episode with me. Don't even tell me you liked it. I don't want to know. Is that bad to say that to them?
It's fine. I mean, you could even ask them to stop listening.
Yeah, maybe I should say I'm about to talk about my genitals. So now would be a good time to just cut out. Welcome to How to Be an Okay Person. I'm Lindsay Chrysler.
And I am Robbie Carlton.
And we're back.
We're back again.
The first thing I want to talk about is to do with my menstrual cycle again. Great. And I feel like if you had done this show with a male friend, you guys would never talk about hormones and menstrual cycles, because you're doing the show with me. You have to talk about all this stuff like every week.
I mean, it seems real likely that I could spend years recording a podcast with a man, and the subject of menstrual cycles and even hormones in general might never come up.
It would never come up. But in this show, it's a hot topic.
It makes sense.
So I have a problem.
Okay.
The problem is my menstrual symptoms, pre-menstrual symptoms, are so much better this month than ever before.
That's so terrible.
It's such a huge problem because I don't know what fixed it. Because I have. You think you know. You think you know.
I have a theory, but keep going.
Oh, I'm really curious.
But congratulations! Can we just
Thank you.
Can we just pause for a second and say a success? How fantastic is that? And we have it on record because on a previous podcast, I don't remember which one, you said I'm gonna handle this next month, or I'm gonna start figuring this out, and you have.
That's so true. That's so true. So I handled it. The only issue is I did 10 different things probably to fix it.
Okay.
So now I have no idea what it is.
Yes. So what did you do?
So one big thing I did was the life activation session. With your friend.
Yes.
And ex-girlfriend. And she was amazing, and that session was amazing. And I have no idea if that's part of it.
Okay, I haven't heard about this yet.
Right. I haven't told you about this adventure that I had yet. But I have to say, like, I felt different after that session. And then I was in week 3 and week 4 building up to this, monthly moment. And
so wait, pause a second.
Oh yeah.
So week 3, for those of our listeners who, for whatever reason, don't have this totally mapped out, week 3 and week 4, like this is you're entering the danger zone. Like this is where it gets really rough. Is that right? Like the symptoms get really strong just before the beginning.
That's correct. And the beginning is when you fully start bleeding.
Okay. And so week 4
is what most people know as PMS, which is the doom time. The beware, And that's what I'm in right now, and I feel fantastic.
Wow. And this has not always been the case.
No, it has not been the case. And okay, so that's the one thing I did, was the life activation session. And for those of you that don't know about it, I have no idea how to describe it, and I'm not even going to try. If you're curious about it, you can reach out to us, and I will put you in touch with her. She's amazing. I mean, do you want to say anything about life activation? I have no idea. Energy work?
It's a kind of energy work that comes from a school. I mean, yeah, of course. That comes from a school called the Modern Mystery School, which is based in basically the Western magical tradition. So the Golden Dawn folks, the kind of people that popularized.
Oh, good. This is good information.
Kind of in the lineage of Aleister Crowley a little bit, or Crowley, more so in the lineage of the Golden Dawn, and the Kabbalah. So it's kind of like this a syncretic magical tradition. This is the modern mystery school. It's kind of has. I don't exactly know the extent of it. I don't know the names of the founders or the recent history of it. Like that's the lineage. But they teach a version of the Kabbalah which has a bunch of energy work and also Enochian magic in it. It's like this crazy, like you talk to angels. It's like this. It's completely out there, like as weird a set of practices as you'll find in America. Vinay Gupta, who we'll probably talk about more soon, says that if you are living in America, the kind of, I don't quite remember the word, but like the orthodox magical field in North America at this time is the Western magical tradition. And
no way.
Yeah, and it's no longer the Native American tradition because, you know, they got kind of pushed out. And so if you're doing any kind of magic in North America, Vinay Gupta said any kind of magic can be any kind of spiritual practice, basically. Vinay Gupta says you should also have a foundation in the Western magical tradition, and you should be summoning angels, and you should be doing the banishing rituals that they do, because they're the guardians of the magical space in North America. So this is a very long explanation of life activation is a initiatory ritual in the modern mystery school, which is a kind of Western magical tradition. So that's what you did. And
that's what I did.
Yeah.
I had no idea that's what I was doing, but I knew I wanted to do it, and I did it, which is how it goes.
Uh-huh. But according to Vinay Gupta, that is a really important move if you're going to be doing any kind of magic in North America. Okay.
Well.
And whether this is caused the reduction in your premenstrual symptoms, it did something.
It did something. The two main things I noticed is, one, I was expressing myself way more joyously afterwards. I still had the the expression coming out of me was just like clear, funny, off the cuff, like what felt like my essence. Uh-huh. And then I still had the human thing where I was like, oh God, did I say too much? You know, I still had the like kind of thing afterwards with communication, which I'm still working on, of like, it's fine. Mm-hmm. But I went for it. I noticed, and I still am going for it. Like I still like just send the text or send the thing or like say the thank you or say the weird thing. And I've found myself like way happier.
Uh-huh. Great.
And the symptoms are way down.
So those are the two things.
Those are the two main benefits I noticed since the session.
Yeah. Right. And I don't know if you remember, but when I did the life activation, it was a similar, like I was like skipping down the street. I was cracking joke. I danced, which is a very rare occasion.
Spontaneously danced.
Yeah. So, there you go. I did not notice a decrease in my menstrual symptoms, but there could be other causes for that.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the one thing I did. The second thing I've been doing is the jade egg, which they say reduces cramps and premenstrual symptoms. Another thing that reduces it. And also something that makes your cycle more regular and your hormones more regular is what they say. And just to tell people what a jade egg is, if they don't know what it is, sometimes it's called a yoni egg or a love egg. But it's
can I just say, of those three options, the option jade egg is by far my favorite way of describing it. Personally.
Me too. Yeah, jade egg.
This has a lot of class.
It's classy. It's a classy thing, actually. It's a stone shaped like an egg, and it's small, like almost like a quail egg or a duck egg, not a normal chicken egg.
Uh-huh.
And you put the jade egg inside your vagina, and it rests in there, and it's made out of jade. Some are made out of rose quartz, but it's made out of jade. It's a stone. And it goes around in there, and it like, I don't even know what it does. Again,
sees the sights.
I don't know really what it does, and I don't believe everything that they say about what it does. But something's happening.
Mm-hmm. So how long, first of all, like how long do you leave it in?
So you leave it in It really depends on the woman, but they say every other night you sleep with it in, and then you start practicing like walking around with it, and then you start practicing like dancing with it, and like, you know, doing all these feminine things. I did my taxes yesterday with it.
Did it make a difference?
I think so. I got my taxes done in a day.
Uh-huh.
I felt the power of the stone radiating up my core. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if I believe in crystals. I think there's something cool about these rocks, but I don't know if it's because we think they're cool or they're actually cool. Like,
right. Or they might be a bit cool, and then we decide that makes them really
wow!
cool. Right.
Yeah. And so I'm not sure.
But hold up. Did you genuinely feel the power of it radiating up through your core?
No. I was being
just
a jokester. But I did feel, here's what I know about the jade egg so far, and it's only been 2 weeks because you're not supposed to do it when you're on your cycle. And not when you're pregnant, and be careful with IUDs. But what I've noticed with that is like, oh, I'm paying attention to this part of my body just by myself. Like usually I think I pay attention to that part of my body either in relationship or in sex or in self-pleasure. But like, it's like more like a daily practice, just like having attention on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if that adds to just being more in touch with my hormones and my cycle and that part of my body and, you know, the whole thing. And is that why? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Or is the rock like really doing something in there?
I mean, so here's my next question. Like when you describe it, I mean, the closest analogy I can kind of readily find in my own body would be to have something up my ass all night and then go do taxes with some kind of small smooth rock up my ass, right? Like that's what I got to kind of really.
That's a perfect analogy.
I mean, that sounds incredibly uncomfortable.
Oh, I don't feel it at all. Here's what I feel like. Something when I first put it in, I feel like, okay, there is something here.
Mm-hmm.
But then it just kind of like, it's really hard to explain. It's kind of like, it's subtle. I will say it's subtle, just like the life activation. It's like, not just like the life activation. It's a completely different thing, but it's a subtle, it's like paying attention to some more of a subtle energy body.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel this. I'm not aware of the stone once it's in, which is actually a problem because when I pee, it falls in the toilet all the time.
All the time.
It has fallen in the toilet. I have done it 10 days of jade egg practice, and it has fallen in the toilet every single day.
Okay.
So then you have to wash it and sterilize it, and it's the whole thing. And then I like Googled like support forums, and everyone's like, it's normal, you know, because you forget.
Just because you forget. Like if you remembered.
You forget.
If you remembered, you would be able to like do something to.
You
keep
would
it
be able
in.
to like catch it or something before you pee, or you'd focus on catching it with your I don't know what those muscles are called, the pelvic floor muscles.
Kegels.
Kegels is the exercise you do for those muscles, but I think it's they're called
Kegels.
Good for you, Robbie. You're like really active in this conversation.
I don't know if they're called Kegels. So I know the exercise called Kegels, but I actually thought I thought they were your Kegel muscles, but I might be making that up. We'll look it up.
We'll look it up. And you can do more like Kegel type exercises like strength training with the jade egg in, but you can also just sleep with it and hang out with it. And that's my favorite part about it because I'm not going to like sit there and do Kegels. Like I just don't care enough. But I'm totally fine to have something in there working its magic. Why not?
It's really interesting. Well, I want to say one other thing about that. I believe that there are schools where you start hanging increasing weights from it as well.
Yes.
As like a kind of strength training.
Yes. And if you YouTube about jade eggs, get ready. There's a whole lot of super annoying people talking about them. And they recommend like weightlifting. And then I read this other website where I actually got my jade egg from. Well, it was given to me, but it's from the site. And they say that the weightlifting is kind of like CrossFit. And it's like people are into it, but it might not be the best thing for you. And like they had a little bit more of a holistic, gentle, kind of more feminine approach to the jade egg, which I really liked. Because I was like, I do not need to like add more to-do list and like, I don't want any bad feeling going towards my pussy.
Yes.
So it's like I don't want to get into weightlifting unless I'm super excited about it.
Like you don't want to be effing or like
yeah. No, we don't need any of that down there. Like, in fact, like I'm, I think like most women, I'm in the constant experience of like loving, like sending loving to make up for all the time that has not, that part of my body has not been like super loved and appreciated. I mean, I think I've done a lot of good work on that, but you could always do more. But yeah, so I'm not into the weightlifting people, and I find them so grating on my nerves, and I'm not going to name specific names because I also like celebrate women working in sexuality because it's a really hard field to work in. So like go women. Any woman who's working in sexuality gets like points in my book. And wow, those videos are super grating. One more thing about jade egg is that Gwyneth Paltrow just posted a big article about jade egg. And she got like slammed by all these gynecologists. Like I was looking on the news and like people are like tearing her apart. And I'm like, and the gynecologists are like, this encourages like, the gynecologist like freaked out on Gwyneth Paltrow's company. And I think it's like, I honestly think it's just something positive about sexuality and people like, I think like there's just like a conditioning, there's conditioning that we can't even help in our culture where it's like, oh, someone's writing about some like sexual practice. Let's fucking get her, you know? Even though it was a female gynecologist, but I think she's probably aligned with the like patriarchal, like controlling of women's sex situation. I mean, she's in Western medicine gynecologist. No offense. I love gynecologists. I like Western medicine. But there's something about this where I was like, really? You're going to tear down Gwyneth Paltrow for writing about these stones? Like,
and this practice that's like thousands of years old. I mean,
thousands of years old.
Yeah.
I think it's from China.
It is from China. Yeah.
Okay. You know about this,
but I don't know how old it is.
I don't know. I really want to learn more about the history, but my approach is like, do it, try it. If I like it, then learn about it. So I'm now in the doing it and liking it phase.
Yes.
So maybe I'll research it.
It's interesting. I have two reactions. One, like I read about this a few months ago. I'd kind of heard about it before, but I read about it. I was on the mailing list of one of the people that I think that you're talking about with the annoying videos, and
bug eyes.
And she was describing her experience of getting the jade egg and like everything it did for her, like working with this jade egg and practicing with it and everything that it did for her life, and this kind of sense of like, I mean the cliches, but like this kind of hole that she'd always felt was suddenly felt filled, and this kind of like anxious neediness and like dissatisfaction was suddenly like replaced by this sense of like well-being and groundedness and la la. She was saying, she was like selling it hard.
Yeah.
And my response was of kind of like a little bit jealous. Like, I want that. Like, I want that. Like, that sounds great. And maybe it's like, maybe whatever the thing is that it addresses, I don't even experience, right? Like, if it's like dealing with your premenstrual stuff, then like maybe I'm just like already off the hook on that, and it wouldn't like benefit me in any way. But like, I have some like underlying anxiety that I would like to be replaced by a sense of like radiating well-being. Like, sure. And then there's some part of me that goes like, I think I have such a kind of belief and orientation about the healing involves consciousness. And so on the one hand, it's like having this thing that kind of just like, you just put it in and forget about it and it magically helps you. Like, on one hand, it sounds great. And on the other hand, it sounds a little too good to be true, I suppose.
Yes, totally. I mean, I think that sell is like way out of... that's not true. Like, that's not true. I think it adds a little bit of well-being and a little bit of consciousness to being a woman and your female body, and that overall improves your well-being. And I also know that I think the consciousness is the big piece about it. Like, I put my jade egg on my altar. I mean, this gets into like my God time, but my jade egg is on my altar. Like, I sage it, and like I like put belief and faith into that stone. Now, whether that actually does anything, I don't know, but it tells my mind that it's doing something, and then my mind puts it in my body, and then my mind, it's like I don't really know where this stuff starts and ends, but I definitely think the jade egg is just like a place for my consciousness to go, mostly around my female body well-being.
Yeah.
But like it in no way, if you have some like deep, crazy existential anxiety, in no way is it going to solve that. Like, or even if you have like a deep hole, like more than like some other things that I would recommend. And it's nice.
Great.
It's nice. And when you're getting that premenstrual like feeling of like when the hormones are starting to like change and you just want to like punch people, it definitely, I think because it's a rock, it provides contact. And then I think that relieves something in the muscles, in like a body, just like gross body. I think it just relieves something in your muscles.
Okay.
These are my theories.
I like it. Yeah.
So that's the second thing.
That's the second thing you've done, which you can attribute some reduction in your premenstrual symptoms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Yeah. What else? We haven't mentioned the thing that at the beginning I was like, I know what did it.
I know. I'm so curious what you think it is. So I'll just give you one quick thing. As of today, and I texted with you earlier today about this, but I went to hang out with my pregnant friend. I don't know why I'm mentioning it's pregnant. It's just like the main thing about her right now, but she's my friend actually. And she had a maca cocoa shake and she's like addicted to them. And so I tried one and it was incredible. And so I went and made it today and I researched that maca helps with PMS again.
Wow. I mean, you're just like kind of on a blitzkrieg of like, what Tony Robbins says, take massive action.
That's me.
Taking massive action in many different ways. You're like shock and awing your PMS. So I got a question about this. So you were talking about this maca cocoa, and am I saying that right? Maca?
I don't know. Maca. And then there's cocoa or there's cacao. Two different things, I think.
Oh my god! And there's also mocha.
And there's mocha, what is that?
Coffee drink. I think it's like a latte with chocolate in it, something like that.
That I don't recommend a mocha for your PMS. They say caffeine, actually. Caffeine, you should reduce caffeine.
Okay.
With PMS.
So I have no idea what this maca is.
Maca is, I just found out, it's a root in Peru, and they grind it up, and there's no caffeine in it. And it's an energy booster. It has a lot of B vitamins. You know how some people get B vitamin injections in their ass?
Yes.
I think it's got a lot of B vitamins. So it gives you a lot of energy.
You don't put it in your ass.
No, you do not put it in your ass. You put it in your milkshake.
Different. Okay, so it's an energy booster.
It's an energy booster without the caffeine.
Yes.
So I think that's probably, and it's just like good for you. And so it's a hot food right now. I would say it's like chia seeds were like a year ago. Like maca is maca. Maca is a big one today.
Is it like chocolate? Is it chocolatey?
No, and I don't know why it's confused. I think it's confused with chocolate because of the things you said. Like it's combined with chocolate a lot in beverages, but it's also like sounds like mocha. So I think people get it confused.
Okay.
It's got a kind of like a benign, like burnt kind of powdery taste to it. But when you add it with cacao and coconut milk and all these amazing things like I did this morning, I mean, I didn't need any more caffeine after I had it. As you can tell right now, I don't need any more caffeine.
Although I did see you drinking some green tea a moment ago.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's just part of the deal. But I had a cup and a half of green tea today, which normally I have like 3 cups by 11 a.m.
Got it. So maca, another thumbs up, another possible
thing. The other possible things that are a little more like practical are like my exercise has been on fire this week. My bells, and my stretching and my walking Emma, my dog. And usually in PMS week, you can kind of be like, oh, I have PMS, I'm not going to exercise. And you can really get away with that culturally in yourself. It's fine. And I noticed that I have stuck to my practice this week. And so that might be part of it. It's like keeping me regular. And then the other thing, which is one last thing, is that I heard on CGP Grey's podcast the other day on Cortex.
Okay.
He was talking about the Hawthorne effect.
For those of you that don't know, CGP Grey is he makes a couple podcasts called Hello Internet and Cortex, and YouTube videos. You can look him up on YouTube, CGP Grey, and he's fantastic.
He talks about the Hawthorne effect, the observer bias.
Okay.
Do you know about this?
I don't know the name Hawthorne effect.
I don't know it totally. I probably should have learned it before I started talking about it, but not my style. But basically, if you observe something, you get like a false positive of like it going well because you are like the fact that you're observing when you begin something new and you're observing yourself doing it, you do better because you're observing it.
Okay. Or you think you do. You think it's going better than it.
You're doing better because you're observing it.
Like if I decide to track my food and I wasn't tracking my food before, if an objective measure would say last week was no better than this week in terms of consumption, but my mind is going to say that's weird because I could imagine it going the other way, right?
Say it again. Yeah, I got stuck like several times looping this in my brain when I was trying to understand it.
Like I can imagine, a lot of things you bring consciousness in for the first time. Like when you really pay attention to your diet for the first time, you might be like kind of appalled at how badly you're doing. So,
right.
You know what? I got to look it up. I'm just going to look it up.
Look it up.
Oh, here's what it says.
What is it?
Is the Hawthorne effect is a type of reactivity in which, this is from Wikipedia, is a type of reactivity in which individuals modify an aspect of their behavior in response to their awareness of being observed. So if they think someone else is observing them,
which could be them, is what CGP Grey says. Like, it could be you.
So CGP Grey is adding a layer to the Hawthorne effect. So the basic Hawthorne effect
I think so.
idea is if I think I'm being observed, I'm going to do things differently. And so that interferes with accurate science or like understanding
of whether something's working or whatever.
Right. And the original, they went to a factory and they changed a bunch of stuff, but they also just observed the workers, and the workers got better, and then they couldn't decide whether it was because of the changes they made or because they started observing the workers' actions. So that's where it comes from.
Which makes so much sense. I do so much better when people are watching me. But yeah, CGP Grey is saying if you're watching yourself, like he brought it up with time tracking. Like when you are time tracking, you may not get accurate data in the first 2 weeks because you're more on top of it and you're going to, the results are coming. So you're better about doing less time on Facebook, for example, than like in 3 months when that kind of observer effect is lower and it's more of a habit. Actually, your Facebook time could just go right back up.
Got it. That makes sense. Yes. Once you're used to time tracking and you're no longer like, ooh, I'm time tracking to make sure I don't go on Facebook, then it's not going to stop you going on Facebook in the same way that like, oh, I've got to track this visit to Facebook. Well, then maybe I'll do something else.
Right. And so then I'm like, does that apply to everything? So like I'm tracking, like I am so into my Hormonology app. I'm like tracking all my, I'm really into this question about cycle and hormones and all these things. So then, and I'm feeling so much better than in 6 months when I'm doing all these same things. Is it going to go back up or go down?
It feels like a slightly kind of disabling question, right? It's like takes a little bit of the wind out of your sails.
It does. And maybe that's good for me, but because I definitely get really high on like starting new things and like being amazing at them right away. But one thing, shout out about the grid. I feel like I'm through that with the grid. Like I'm going into my 5th month, I think, on the grid. And I feel just as happy about the grid as I did before. I had a 2 weeks ago, I was like, ugh, but I feel mostly Like I'm through the Hawthorne effect of the grid. Like I feel still like so excited for February 1st to make my new grid. I'm like doing a whole new thing. Like I feel totally on fire with the grid still.
The grid is real.
I think the grid is real. So we'll see if life activation is real and maca is real and jade egg is real. I guess I'll stick with it and see.
Okay, so what else are you doing? Anything else?
I mean, the only other thing I'm doing is the Hormonology Pro app. And I've posted on Facebook. I've talked about it on this show. I am going to redesign an app. Whether you, Robbie, are going to help me or not, like I am making a new app because it could be better. But I am so grateful for it because it gives me language around these hormones. So I've been doing that religiously, and that's been super fun. And I highly recommend, if you don't know about hormones or your cycle, that's a really great place to start, is the Hormonology Pro app. It's only $2.99. It's like amazing. And stay tuned for my app that I develop because it's going to be a little bit. Love you, ho pro, but I have to improve things because that's what I do, make things better.
So what is it? Like you the
It gives you a horoscope. Right. It's called a Hormonology Horoscope, and so they give you like a forecast for your day based on testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen, and the different levels. Those three hormones are doing a different thing every day of your cycle.
And they guess that base. You tell them when your cycle starts.
You tell them when it starts, and then they kind of guess. And so it's going to take me a few more months to like have them as accurately as possible, but it's pretty. Again, the symptoms they say though, I would say like I feel them the last 2 weeks, I feel them at a 2-3 versus last month before all this stuff that I just talked about, I felt them at a 7-8.
So they're accurate, but the intensity is going down, which is
that's what I think.
Yeah.
So what do you think it is?
So funny. Yeah, you haven't said what I think it is. So you've also, amongst everything else you've been doing, you've also been drinking another special beverage.
I completely forgot to talk about that. That could be the whole shebang, actually. Too.
Yeah. When you start talking about it and you're saying like, I don't know what it is, and I'm thinking, I know what you hope it isn't. Like I know what you if there's one thing you really hope it isn't, it's that, and you forgot to mention it.
Oh God. And so the thing that you're talking about, I mean, should I just say it?
I mean, it's up to you. It's your story to tell.
Well, I'll tell you. Okay. So the thing that you're talking about, Robbie, is my herbs.
Yes.
From my acupuncturist.
Yes.
And my acupuncturist is amazing. You see him as well.
I do.
When you're in town. He's amazing. And he's definitely like doing the work in the world that he's meant to do. It's kind of how he feels to me. And he gives you herbs every time after each session. And so I went in to tell him, like, I'm pretty much drama free. I have no big issues. This last session, I said, I'm actually really good. I think I'm just ready to work on my health.
and for those of you who, when they think of an acupuncturist, they're like, well, what else would you work on? He works on everything.
He works on everything.
You can get acupuncture for, all kind of issues of life at every level of, the subtlest, the most interpersonal, the most psychological or physical issues as well. So
right.
You've mostly been seeing him in a context that's more emotional, psychological, and
spiritual. Yeah, totally. And everything feels really pretty much aligned now. Also because of my practices, but because of everything. I mean, Jesus, I've been working my ass off for like 10 years.
Right.
But everything feels really aligned. So I was like, okay, I think I'm just going to talk to him about like, my habit of eating sugar and my hormone cycle. And like, I would like a regular hormone cycle. And he was like, okay, let's work on that. So we worked on it and we talked all about it. It was great. And then he gave me herbs and he said, I'm going to give you cooking herbs. Usually I don't ask him what's in my herbs, but since you ask him, it's kind of your fault.
I've never asked him what's in my herbs.
Oh, well, you ask him, like, what's this for?
Yeah, I talked to him about, yeah.
I never ask him about it. I just, like, take the bag, put the herbs in my cup, fill it with hot water, drink it, no questions asked.
I mean, I just imagined if I never asked him because I just thought he's going to tell me the name of some plants that's going to be meaningless to me. Like, I'm not going to.
Right.
There's not going to be any useful information out of that. But yeah.
Well, I got a different experience because I asked him, what's in these cooking herbs? And he said, well, there's lotus leaf, this like huge dried lotus leaf, like the size of twice my head. Mm-hmm. And then here's this herb that is called a chicken bone herb. It smells like chicken. And then these, and he gets like, his face lights up with delight. And he pours them out onto the table to show me. And these little black balls, tiny little black, like dusty balls.
They look like rocks or something. They're
like little,
yeah,
fall out onto the table.
Yeah.
And he said, these are feces.
Hey guys, for a couple reasons, we decided to redact the name of the specific creature whose feces is being discussed. If you want to go down that rabbit hole, you should consult with your own medical professionals. Okay, back to the show.
And he said, these are feces. And because he jokes around sometimes, I mean, he's like incredibly serious, and then he also jokes around a lot, and we laugh a lot. But I knew, as the words came out of my mouth, I'm like, are you serious? I knew he was so serious. Then I looked it up on Google, and it's a whole thing. Like in China, like people use it for all these health benefits. Of course. I mean, that's why they're in the herbs.
Right.
So I have been drinking feces broth for 3 weeks.
And partly in order to alleviate your premenstrual symptoms.
Totally. And to have my regular cycle. So, and I set that intention with him. So yeah, that's probably that's funny. I totally avoided that one. That's probably one of the bigger factors.
Yeah. I mean, you would hope if it's worth going to acupuncture, then you would hope that made a difference, right?
Right. It was tough in the beginning, and now I'm not saying I look forward to it, but I'm kind of used to it.
Used to drinking the poop juice.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Like, whatever. I'll do it for health. If this is a joke, and if like God is playing a trick on me, this is not funny, but I'll do it.
And you don't have much longer, right? It's like was a short run with this stuff.
Oh no. I have 2 more weeks of bags of herbs. Like I have to make a new pot of herbs every week. And like the last batch lasted me longer than I thought. So I technically could get off the hook in like a week and a half, but I have enough herbs probably for another month. I mean, I could be drinking this juice for a while.
That's kind of a sad face over there.
Yeah. So there's that.
Okay. So there are the suspects in the mystery of the case of Lindsay's radically reduced premenstrual symptoms. And
stay tuned.
Yeah, what do we want to say about that?
I think the only other thing I want to say about it is, why am I doing all this? Because I think if I could get into this rhythm and like know about this rhythm of my life even more, I can plan ahead my life better. Like I can actually be more productive. I can plan more social experiences when I'm feeling social, and more internal work experiences when I'm feeling internal, less clients on the crazy weeks, like more clients. Like it's just such a great tool for women to plan their life. So that's why I'm doing it. It's just like I want to have more mindfulness around this roller coaster that happens every month. And you could get all sad about being on this roller coaster every month. I'm not sad. I love the variation of the month. Like I think it's fun. I think it's exciting. Like I like change so much.
It's funny because over here, I was joking with my roommate, saying, she said, "What are you recording a podcast about today?" And I said, "Well, actually, it's going to be a lot about women's things and menstrual cycle and stuff like that." And and I'm just gonna be like the dude over here, like, well, I don't know about that. I'm glad I'm not a woman. Like, and over here, I'm like, man, it just sounds terrible. Like, it sounds. So I'm glad that you are happy and excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's good I'm a woman, you're a man.
It works out.
It's working out. Yeah, I love it. And I think the more you fight against just reality, the more you struggle. Like, I want to be with reality. Like, my life is so much easier and more fun when I'm with reality. So the reality is I'm a woman and I go on this journey every month. I have for years and years. I've been kind of being dragged around it all these years. And now I'm like, I think I could, like, drive the roller coaster train. Or what would it be? I'm not driving it. I'm consciously, like, saying yes to it and working with what arises.
Right. You're like, there's like the two people on when you get the photograph, like you go on those rides and they photograph you like at the most intense part. Yeah. And there's like two people next to each other and one of them is like arms in the air, like, woohoo, like laughing, eyes wide open. And the other one is like curled up in a ball, like clinging on to like the restraints, eyes squeezed totally shut.
Yes.
Like, when is this going to end? Right. And you're the first one going, woohoo.
I'm the hands up. At this point, I'm the hands up. Now, we'll see.
And what I heard is you also kind of you're no longer on like some crazy, I don't know the names of any famous roller coasters, but you're not on like the crazy like giant intense ride right
Tornado
now.
Twister 5. No.
Right, you're on the kind of gentle like, Santa Cruz boardwalk, like a little bit of an
old
up,
wooden
bit
roller
down.
coaster.
Right. Yeah.
Right. With like really good seating. Yeah. Yeah. So there's hope. Like I just want to, I mean, yeah, that's what I want to say about it. It's fun research and I think you can have more control around your experience if you would like it.
Yes. Fantastic. Success. And
a success.
I want to say, because for whatever reason, like I'm the kind of anxious voice of like something on the show. We are not medical professionals, and so talk to people who you trust to kind of be responsible for your medical and health stuff before engaging in any of these things. I mean, I think probably the Hormonology app is safe enough, but like definitely jade egg and feces. You want to talk to someone you trust, who knows you better than we do, before engaging in those kind of practices.
Yes. Amen. I also have a doctor's appointment next week. So I'm doing Western medicine as well, getting like blood work done and just checking things out on that front as well. So
great.
Find whatever works for you. But like, I mean, the real, like the message is like, if you want something, if you start paying attention to it, things can change, I think.
Yes.
So maybe you won't have to have feces. In fact, I kind of hope you don't have to.